Hush-a-bye, my baby, slumber time is coming soon. Rest your head upon my breast while mama hums a tune. The Sandman is calling, where shadows are falling, while the soft breezes sigh as the days long gone by. Oh, way down in Missouri, where I heard this melody when I was a little baby upon my mama's knee. The old folks were humming, their banjos were strumming, so sweet and low. Hear that mournful melody, it haunts you all day long, and you wander in your dreams back to heaven, it seems, when you hear that old time song humming all day long, and the old folks are playing that same evening song. Oh, hush-a-bye, my baby, go to sleep on Mammy's knee. Journey back to these old hills and dreams again with me. It seems like your mama was there once again, and the old folks were strumming that same old refrain. Oh, way down in Missouri, where I learned this lullaby, when the stars were blinking and the moon was climbing high. Seems I hear voices low as in days long ago, singing hush-a-bye.
Ken, every time I hear that song, it just gets better. Don't you think?
Whenever I hear that song, I think of lemonade and porch swing.
Right? Yeah, that pretty well does it. Well, good after. Well, no, it's good morning, isn't it?
Good.
It's good morning. It's still morning here, and welcome once again. We are in a fresh season of the Real Estate Geeks, and we're live and in person. As per usual, just about every season we've decided to change it up. We've been on the radio for a season. We spent a couple of seasons in the rolling realtor mobile.
True.
That was a lot of fun. And then we did a season remodeling the cabin. That was a fun season.
That's true.
And now we are not just the Real Estate Geeks, we are the Real Estate Geeks live. And so the show is not pre-recorded. It is right here, and it's happening right now as we speak. And we thank you for watching. So we are. This is our fourth episode this season. Four already, and we're more than halfway through the season. Season's almost gone, but we're still talking about the same topic, and I want to clarify a little bit here. Some of the comments that we see come up on these videos when they get posted. Here's the deal. This isn't just for people who are in the industry. We're not having this conversation, for real estate people to figure out what to do with this lawsuit and what's changing with the commissions. And it's not for them. If you're a realtor, please get off our channel. You need to go figure this stuff out for yourself. We're not here for you. We're here for the consumer. Hey, look, Burn, that's just how it is. We're here for the consumer. We want the consumer to have the same information that we're getting inside the industry. And you need to know, if you are a homeowner, you need to know this stuff. It affects your finances. And for most of us, including myself, it affects the single largest investment that we ever make. That's our homes. It's property. So you may have also noticed that we pushed this episode back. It was scheduled a couple of weeks ago. And why did we do that? Well, as we've done with every other episode, something came up and they're like, okay, we're going to have a ruling. We're going to have something happen. And we wanted to be timely on that. And the something that is happening is that on the 27th, 2 short little days from now, there will be no compensation listed in the multi-listing service. So when you're selling a home, if you offer to pay commission, your agent as a seller and the buyer's agent are going to have to negotiate that. And if you're a buyer, you're going to have to negotiate with your agent for the commission. This is the new way it is. And we're going to talk about, we held off talking about this article that I have referenced that came out. It was written by Brad Inman. We like Brad Inman at Inman News. If you're interested in real estate, Inman.com, nothing but news about real estate. And Brad Inman wrote this on March 28th. This was after the verdict came down in this suit. So the verdict had come down, and the NAR began negotiating a settlement, and the result of that settlement is the removal of commissions from the MLS. We're going to talk about this article. But first, we are the Real Estate Geeks, and I am Brad Gore, managing partner and realtor of the Real Pro team at Reese Nichols.
Yes. Good morning. I'm Ken Bowman, managing partner and realtor with Real Pro team at Reese Nichols as well. As you may have noticed in our previous episode, we've updated our format. As Brad had mentioned, we've traveled, we've remodeled, we've been a little bit of everywhere. So you really never know where we're going to show up next. So as we continue to change the game in live real estate and news and entertainment, now we're on Restream. This is a new platform. We're also live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So you can find us at Real Estate Geeks Live on all three of these platforms. So go now, hit that subscribe button, like, do all the things you need to do so you don't miss another episode. You'll also notice, as we've mentioned, this is our stationary new place for now. We do have something fun and exciting in the works, so we'll be talking about here soon. But as for the here and now, this is our office here in Branson, Missouri.
Yeah, and we will be, the next time you see us, we will be in what I think we believe will become our permanent studio.
But for now, it's a super secret, undisclosed.
It is an undisclosed location. We have begun referring to it as our villain lair because we have been vilified a little bit in the media, realtors in general. But we're still here in the humble Ozarks, and the new location, the new stadium is not here at the office. It's another property that we own that is, I don't know, I guess we're going to call it a hobby for now, but we will talk a little bit more about that when we move to that studio. It's currently under construction, and we hope it'll be done by mid-August. And I think maybe, yeah, I know. If you know a good HVAC guy, have him call us. This is my resting, I don't like HVAC face. Yeah, if you know a good HVAC guy, have him call us. So, but I think that building will be done sometime in August, and we'll be moving in there. And you'll probably see, here's what you're probably going to see. You're probably going to see some of the things that we like to do that are fun for us. You're probably going to see coffee reviews come back. You'll probably just see some individual one-off coffee review videos kind of in the off season. And then I have a feeling probably in over the winter we'll have season 5 ready to go, because we'll have kind of a stationary place that has a purpose for providing this information to consumers, not just people here, our clients, people that we're working with, everyone. So I think that will be coming up pretty quick. I'm pretty excited about it. So yes, we're going to be cryptic right now because it's not ready. But once it's ready, we'll be very much be some clarity on that, I think. So Okay. Uh, let's just get into it. I don't know any other way to really roll on this, but
And here we go.
I wanted to hit this article, and I wanted to hit it now because we are about to see what this settlement is going to become, what the market's going to be like. And I want to talk about this article because I'm not throwing any individual under the bus. I want to throw everybody under the bus, everyone. I disagree with a lot of the decisions that have been made. As as a realtor, this is my profession, and it's been my profession for, in one way or another, for 20 years, and I absolutely love what I do. And I have a little bit of nostalgia coming on because the old way I thought was perfectly fine. But I want to share an experience, and Ken, I think you can probably share the same experience that we've had. Is that I've been working with people that we work with a lot of what I'll call institutional. We list a lot of new construction for builders. That's one of the biggest part. It's probably the biggest part of our business. And I just listed a couple of properties for one of our builders. Had no idea what was going on with the commission settlement. No clue. And this guy lives and breathes. I mean, he makes all of his income building spec homes and selling them. And so the real estate industry is his industry. He's in a different part of it, but he utilizes our services. And he had no idea there was a commission settlement. I don't think consumers have any idea what's coming. And I think the small group that was involved in this lawsuit that led to this, I think most of them didn't know what was coming out of it. I think those that did were the only ones that knew. And I think this was a minority that has now put in place rules that will affect everyone. And I think we're going to find out that the majority would prefer more transparency. Because I don't care how many times these attorneys and everyone else argues that this is going to lead to more transparency. You're removing a disclosure of how much the commission is offered from a publicly available source. It can be made public. It can be put out there, and it has been. You're removing that and saying now it just has to be between this small little group of people who are going to negotiate this. That's not transparency. It's just not.
No. Confusion level, as Mr. Emmett says, disruption. That's going to be.
And we're not talking about disruption like, Apple showed up with the iPhone and disrupted the industry. We're talking about disruption like we just nuked the industry. And it's going to take a long time to rebuild. People aren't going to know what's going on. Everyone's going to be lost in the weeds. And I'm going to tell you some things that are going to happen. There's going to be a buyer out there somewhere who we try to explain to them how this works. They're not going to understand. They're going to go to closing. They're not going to be able to pay a commission that they owe. They're not going to get the house they want. The seller is going to not get the sale that they want. And it's somebody that I think there's going to be a slew of lawsuits over who owes who commission because people didn't know.
I can't see how that is going to be a part of it.
And it isn't, when I say they didn't know, I don't mean they weren't told. I mean, they just didn't listen. They just decided, I'm not going to do that. I'll just do whatever I want. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, it's not well understood how we make our living, even though it's no secret. Most people don't understand what it means to be commission only.
These things are going to unravel at the closing table in the fourth quarter.
And I think you're going to have realtors that just don't pay any attention to it or say, well, I don't have to do that because I'm special somehow. And they're going to show up to a closing table. And lots of disclosures were made, but they never got the right document signed. And so there's a 4 or 5 or 6 or who knows how much commission on the table, and it's all going to go to the seller's agent, and the buyer's going to get none. The buyer's agent's going to say, well, but you don't have the right signed documentation, so you get 0. And it just doesn't make sense to me to go from a system where it was verified, it was disclosed, it can be made, and in some instances is publicly available on lots of different places. You knew everything you needed to know, and now how these agents react to having to protect their commission, the reaction is going to be a consumer that doesn't understand why that's important. And a lot of us are just going to have to start saying, I'm sorry, I don't work for free. Well, but I want the seller to pay. Well, he's refusing to pay. So what do? I don't know, but I can't help you because you won't sign this document saying I get paid. I can't work for free. I can't earn a living. And I put it back to you. Do you go to your doctor or your CPA or your lawyer and say work for free just because that's what I want you to do? And when they say no, are you like, oh, well,
I'll just go to another one.
And when they say I don't want to work for free, I don't understand it. And I get that there's a better way to do it. So this article by Brad Inman apologized and 17 other common sense ways to begin reforming the NAR. I have said this before. I'm going to say it now before we get into these 17 things that he's talking about. The number one way to reform the NAR is to get it out of the for-profit MLS business. Our local board and the National Association of Realtors should have nothing to do with MLSs. MLSs should all be privatized, period. Completely privatized. And there is no reason we couldn't have 3 or 4 major players that every single realtor in the country can choose which one they want to use. And realtors should take back realtor.com, and that should be the only place that we allow all of that information to be aggregated.
That's a whole different story. But I think that's a lot
And
of
then
what a lot of people don't know about realtor.com.
Yeah. And then we should sell that information to the Zillows and the Homes.com of the world for a profit. We, realtors, should own that. And to be frank, if we did that, we'd never have to pay dues again. And MLSs could be open and free systems because it could be paid for by what we sell that information for. That the thing that we have that's worth a lot of money is information on homes and home sales and pricing and price per square foot and all. That's our information. We're the ones that do all the work to get that information out there. And that bugs me. I don't know, does it bug you?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it does. Maybe I'm the only one. I don't know.
It's information, as we all know. Information is what's important. That's what has value.
Yep. This is interesting. Number one, according to Mr. Inman, 17 common sense ways to reform the NAR. By the way, the NAR is the National Association of Realtors. I'm going to tell you to Google it because I'm not going to explain everything that they are, but it's the association we all belong to. Adopt an association manifesto that clearly defines the purpose and vision of the organization and an action plan that every member understands and is willing to pay for. I think that's the big one, is willing to pay for. Because our dues are expensive.
This is not a cheap game.
It's too cheap, but it's not cheap. It's a couple grand a year for all the different dues that we pay. 2, show courage with a mea culpa. I'm not going to explain what mea culpa is. Learn your Latin. A sincere, unqualified apology to NAR members for action that damaged the industry. What happened was there was an effort back in the 1990s. And we look at that like it's ancient history. But I'm going to quote. I'm not going to quote. I'm going to paraphrase a joke by Eddie Izzard. If you don't know who Eddie Izzard is, Eddie Izzard's a hilarious British comic. And most people know him from some George Clooney, Brad Pitt movies, the Oceans 11, 12, 13. He plays the guy that has all the gadgets. He's kind of the gadget guy. That's Eddie Izzard. But Eddie's a comedian, and he's hilarious. And he tells this joke. He's from he's from the United Kingdom. He's very, very British. And he tells this joke about how he comes to the U.S., whatever, and he goes somewhere. People say, "Oh, this building was built 50 years ago," and then he tells in Great Britain, he's like, where history comes from. The Westminster was built in 900, and people say 1901. No, 900. That cracks me up, because it's true. We say things like this, like it's ancient history. The 1990s were not that long ago. And we went through this modernization, and that was the period of time where the buyer's agency, in other words, this idea that buyers should be able to pick their own agent, because previous to that, it was the most common way that real estate was sold is that you had to go talk to the seller's agent. And that's the only agent that would be involved in the transaction. It was very common. And that began to change, and the idea came around that that's unfair. And there were court cases over this. It was unfair that buyers couldn't choose their own agent and didn't have a means to have agency for themselves. But then it became, how do we compensate? And the idea came in that the seller can negotiate a commission, and then the seller can elect to pay part of that commission to the buyer's agent. So the seller's agent collects all the commission, and then the seller's agent pays the buyer's agent part of that commission for bringing the buyer. And that's how it became fair, right? And so it happened in the same way that it's happening now. Only now we're tearing down the system that was built 40 years ago-ish. And I don't know that, I don't feel like the system needed to be changed, because buyers always had the right to negotiate a commission. Sellers always had a right to negotiate a commission. They didn't because the system worked so well. 3, humility, action, and service should define a new organizational culture, build on positive steps, and restore morale internally. So we have a new CEO. And there's been a lot of changes made, a lot of changes. And I think that the first few words of this, humility, action, and service, I feel like that's what got away from us. I don't know. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a service-based industry. And a lot of people, for whatever reason, I don't want to say made up rules, but they assumed certain things were rules that really weren't. There was negotiation, there was ability to discuss, but that discussion didn't happen.
But part of that comes from what we're going to talk about next week, which is this report. So next week, we will be focusing on this report from the Consumer Federation of America. It has a really long name. I'm going to put it up here. You can figure that out for yourself. It's a surfeit. You can look that word up too, along with mea culpa. A real estate agent. Abundant jobs, inadequate mentorship, and few sales, by Stephen Brobeck. He's a senior fellow at the Consumer Federation of America. Basically, the determination that there's too many realtors. And I talked about this way back, I think, in the first episode.
And that kind of sounds mean, but that's really not.
No, it's not. And one, we talked about this way back in like episodes 1 and 2. It's too easy, right? It takes a lot of time and input to be a lawyer, to be a financial advisor, and to be a CPA, to be a doctor. Not a financial thing, but there's this group of people that kind of work in the same industry. I mean, realtors are kind of financial advisors, right? We're not CPAs, but we do have to be aware that some of what you do with your home may have something to do with taxes. And so we refer you quite often to a CPA for that, but we at least need to know what that means. And we're not attorneys, but we are authorized to fill out, sign, and provide advice on a specific subset of contracts. And so if we have to do all 3 of those things, a portion of all 3 of those things in real estate, why is it so easy to be a realtor? Be a real estate agent.
Legally binding documents.
Let me make sure I define that too. I'm talking about to be a real estate agent. To get a license from your state, just like a CPA or financial advisor from federal organizations mostly, or an attorney. Why is it so easy? I think it's too easy, and I think that that's one of the reasons that we have all these problems is because there's a lot of amateurs. I'm an amateur lawyer. I'm an amateur attorney. I'm an amateur tax advisor.
I'm a doctor on the weekends.
Yeah, on Saturdays, I give financial advice out of the back of my van. Like, we don't do that. you wouldn't go talk to that person. Why is it the other way around? Like why wouldn't real estate licensees be held to the same standard? And I think they should. And I think it falls more kind of under like a CPA. You know, CPAs have to go. You have to have a college degree. I'm not singling anybody out, but I'm saying for the purposes of this job, when you're working with people, there needs to be more education, and you need to prove that you're willing to put into work on that education and learn the things that you need to know to build that base out of. Just taking a 40-hour class is not a base. Sorry, it's not. So you need to have a college education, and I think you have to have 2 years of apprenticeship. And during that 2 years of apprenticeship, there should be, you know, another whatever, maybe 100 hours of classes that you can take. And then you can sit for the exam.
Well, for yourself and the public.
For the public. For the public. And if you're not willing to put in that work, I don't think you should get a license. I don't think taking a 40-hour class and a test is enough to get a license. Because then you're putting it on these brokerages to teach these people, and just to be frank, they don't. And that's why we end up in the situation that we're in. I am going to group together a group of his suggestions into talking about the MLS, because I want to talk about MLSs today. He has a few in here. It's like, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. Which basically all break down to this. Break up the three-way agreement between NAR state and local associations, push for MLS consolidation, assist local leadership in making it happen, enforce mandates from the commission lawsuit, and help brokerages change their business practices. And this is what I like the most about what he says: expel those who don't comply. Our industry is very much self-policed, and we don't self-police. I had a conversation with a group of attorneys about this, and the feedback I got from them was that we, attorneys as a group, generally, when they spend that time getting their education, they doggedly police their own organization, and it doesn't matter who you are. They will report you for ethics violations. And on the other hand, I am dumbfounded by the sheer volume of violations of our ethical standards that never get reported and they never get acted upon. And that blows my mind. I don't get it. And I'll tell you the number one that bugs me is realtors that contact our clients and then say, "Oh, I didn't know they were your client." And I'm calling bull hockey on that.
And that's a common thing that's not a secret to anyone.
No, you have no right to contact my clients. And I don't care what your excuse is. If I am their agent and I have an agency agreement, you have no right to contact them for any reason. Your problems, your issues, what you need, that's your pile of crap. That's your bucket to carry. I have had realtors call my clients and be like, "Oh, well, I wanted to show your house, and I know you from the thing and the guy in the place. You might remember me." And I tried to call your agent, and they didn't answer the phone. So can I come show your house? And that I immediately, luckily, this is a situation where the individual who is my client can't stand this agent, does not like them at all. But this agent didn't get it. And the truth is that agent didn't have a client. The truth is that agent was trying to make me look like a jerk so that my listing that would eventually expire, they could get in there and try to list that house. That's the truth. Now, I don't have any proof of that. I'm not naming any names. I'm not saying who it was. Characters in this particular movie, any resemblance to real life persons is purely coincidental. My point is that I've had this done to me and it's completely wrong. I don't care what your excuse is. I don't care. I don't care. You want to show the house and I'm not answering the phone. You wait until I call you back.
And you have to know that.
No, they know. They're doing it for their own. They're serving their own purposes. And that is the kind of circle of things that happens because there's too many agents. And again, I said we had this conversation in season 1 and 2. I want you to look around your town. We looked around Branson, and we could come up with about 30 attorneys. That's how many I could come up with around Taney County. It was about 30. And Stone County, even less than that, and there are 600 real estate agents.
I'll say there's 30 agents in certain buildings.
Well, there's 75 just here in ours. So
there you go.
It's too many. We don't need them. But with this report, we're going to talk about this. The number one thing that's in this report is that 80% of the agents in this country, the United States, did 1 or 0 closings last year. In 2023. This came out in January 2024. In 2023, 80%. So we don't need them.
Had a substantial closing. What little commission you got off that didn't cover your fees, any training you did, anything. You lost money to be an agent.
You lost money to be an agent. And those of us that do this for a living, and this is all we do, you take 1 million transactions out of our business for you to do one. Because what you really do is whatever other job you got. And I know people, and it blows my mind, but I know people that have done it. They're just so bent out of shape over paying a real estate agent to do work for them that they don't have to do work we do. To do this work for them, they're so bent out of shape by it that they go take an online class, they go pass the course, they pay a year's worth of dues just to get into the MLS, and they sell their own home. And then they never do real estate again. They do it just to get into the MLS. And which blows my mind. A lot of them could pay a third-party company. There's lots of them in this country that do it, unfortunately. $1,000, and they'll put it in a local MLS for you. No, I'm not going to pay you. Like, people do that. And it goes back to the old adage that the man who represents himself in court has a fool for a client.
The dollar value of what you are putting at risk.
Yeah, but you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. You haven't got a clue.
And we see this. This is not a fantasy made up.
Not a fantasy.
And you see it more than you think.
More than you think. I talk to people who have homes for sale by owner. I've called up for sale by owners because we have low inventory right now. And I've said, I've got a client that is looking in that neighborhood. You have your home on Zillow as a for sale by owner. And I'd like to bring my client to look at it. Could we come down there, say this afternoon? No, I got to work. Okay, well, could we come out there tomorrow? I don't know. I'm kind of busy. I got to think. How about you guys come on Saturday? My client leaves town on Friday, so I can't bring him on Saturday. He won't be here. You get that kind of stuff. Or you get this. Yeah, you can bring them down here, but they'll have to work with me. I'm not working with an agent. Okay, so I have a buyer that might be interested in your house that wants to purchase it. I've given them the details, the price, everything. They're okay with that. They want to come look at it. You're not willing to compensate me for bringing you a buyer. And okay, well, I'll tell my client they have to pay it, but well, why would they have to pay? You can just send them to me. No, I can't. I have an agency agreement with them, so I represent them. And if you're not willing to allow me to represent them, that's fine, but I've still got to be paid. I still have done work. I've put hours in, right? It's just like, would you go to your attorney and say, hey, thanks for representing me today, but I'm not going to pay you? You will find yourself back in court on the other side, and you'll end up paying your attorney and a whole lot more. It just blows my mind. Well, I know you're my financial advisor. Hey, thanks for that tip on that stock. I made a lot of money, but I'm not going to pay you.
Penny wise,
pound
And dollar
foolish.
foolish.
Yeah. But it all comes back to what they're saying about our MLSs need to be separated from the NAR and they need to be privatized. It needs to be more difficult to be involved in that part of the business. People should have to put more in it. They just should. So anyway, now I'm gonna put another group together, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Which basically they all say overall NAR governance, right? No more tenured leadership tracks, decrease the size of the board, commit to transparency, qualified independent directors, reduce the cost of intermediaries that capture too many commission dollars. We'll get to that. So all of these conducted top down is reorganizing the NAR. My favorite part of this is independent directors, non-realtors on the board of directors. This is my favorite thing ever. SpaceX does not have a board of directors that are just astronauts, right? Ford does not have a group of directors that are just race car drivers, because that's not only what you do.
So you're alluding to a different set of eyes on the problem, so to speak.
I have a list of, I think there are people that should be invited to be qualified independent directors. I have a list. I would like to see Barack Obama. I think would be a great director for the National Association of Realtors. The dude's got a law degree. He's a former president, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he'd be a fantastic director for the National Association of Realtors. He's also, he is in a category, he's a black man in America. And the NAR and real estate in general has had a problem with diversity. And I think an independent director of his caliber could give us some fantastic insight on things we're not doing that we should be doing. Jamie Dimon, I think would be fantastic.
Okay.
David Faber, right? Economic analyst.
Yeah.
And financial gurus. And I just like David Faber, but I like him as a independent director of the NAR because he also has lots of media experience, and we need that in the NAR. We've had a media problem.
So whether good or bad, you're wanting people that basically aren't kind of
I think
in the group that
here's
can't
what
see
I
the
think.
forest.
I think there needs to be a group of like 5 or 7 that give input and vote on all the issues that our national board of directors votes on. And in fact, I really think that they need to be a piece of the executive team. Like maybe you have a group of 5 and 3 of those are maybe on the executive team as some type of member of the executive team.
So a more diversified background mixture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big time. Yeah. I'll tell you somebody I would have loved to have on it, but unfortunately we never can. That's Jack Welch.
Uh-huh.
If this was 15 years ago, I would have said, put Jack Welch on there. He'll reorganize that into a well-oiled machine. But those are the type of people I think should be part of that group and giving that type of advice.
Well, they have proven to be leaders in their own right.
Well, I mean, there's who else?
Well, we're all on the boat, so we should be focusing on.
Who would you put on it?
I don't disagree. I think.
Well, I'm putting you on the spot because I know you haven't thought about this. That's okay. We're just live, Ken.
I showed up 10 minutes ago.
Well, yeah, that's enough time.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think for me, I love to brainstorm things of that nature. And also, much like what you're talking about, like to talk to people in different areas to get a collective consensus. This is the same thing. Yes, I agree. Some people in the industry need to be on that board to have their inside knowledge of the inner workings. But at the same point in time, if they're all of that same mindset, then television kicks in. So having some independent thinkers, some other experiences to add to that with folks in the industry.
You notice how he hasn't named a name yet.
No, well, funny enough, Jamie Diamond's one of the guys that came to thought, but look at your people. You mentioned SpaceX. What if you have someone that's a modernist, outside the box, free thinker, renegade, like an Elon Musk or something like that? You're gonna have people that love it, people that hate it.
Well, yeah, true. But you could go the other direction. What about somebody like Jack Ma from NVIDIA?
He's got too much going on in the video.
Well, I don't think so. I think he could do it.
But at the same point in time, the people you're talking about are still forward-thinking industry leaders, and
that's the point we're trying to make, right?
And that's where you're going.
Yeah, that's the point we're trying to make.
Until this whole thing comes full circle, and now the buyers file lawsuits here in the future saying they're getting bad representation.
We'll get to that when we get to it. All right, let's close this out. 15 through 18. Adopt a new, and they say specifically a brutal new conflict of interest policy that prohibits NAR leaders and associations from benefiting from industry vendors and outside business interests. Create a transparent policy for perks in travel. Rebuild trust with the membership, et cetera, et cetera. Reduce member dues. And only slow down reforms when members are once again proud of their national trade association. And the last one is the one that brings a tear in my eye. I've been a member of the association for a very long time. I am a consistent and dedicated investor in RPAC, which is the Realtor Political Action Committee. I've sat on committees. I've sat on our advocacy committee at the state level for 4 years now. I've given tens of thousands of dollars. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in RPAC. I've chaired RPAC committees, legislative committees. And I will not be making any commitments or writing any checks until these things are fixed. I'm stepping away. And I'm stepping away because I've been given the option to. And I feel like until this association can adequately and appropriately manage itself, that there's more value in me investing in other places and being involved in other organizations. And somebody somewhere, not that the whole world watches this show or ever will see this show, whatever. Maybe nobody will, but there is a bottom line where I say a lot of people will be surprised by that. You might be surprised by that, but that's my intent. I'm not going to invest in RPAC next year. I'm not going to go to any of the RPAC fundraising stuff. I would rather just give my money directly to candidates that I know support what I think is right than to an organization that I question whether or not they have the ability and are using all the skills they have at hand to appropriately spend my money. I'm bothered by it, and until I'm not bothered by it, I'd rather just not be involved.
Some of that was mentioned here with assets and some streamlining. This definitely talks more about reforming and refocusing NAR. When this first broke, a lot of people said NAR needs to go, period.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of people said that the NAR would, that this was the end. And we all knew that wasn't true. I mean, it's just not the way it works. So, Ken, any continuing commentary?
I think
before we wrap this up,
I think this will sound silly. I think this is an exciting time it's going to be a little more difficult for agents and the public to get on the same page. But I think if you stay with informing, I think that's the way to move forward. I also think that as people get more comfortable with this becoming the norm, this is kind of a reset where we can start this conversation fresh with the consumer and go forward. But it's not going to be an easy conversation because of perception of the public, nothing against the public, but of them thinking they know information that isn't totally correct. And that's where we're going to have to help clarify. And the ones that clarify are going to do good, the ones that don't.
And that's our job.
Exactly.
That's our job. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Like you said, information.
Yeah. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I'll throw an idea at you. Talk to your real estate professional. Ask them what it all means. Ask them to explain it to you. Ask them to clarify. If you don't have a real estate professional, call us, 417-243-0808. We're happy to help. We're also happy to tell you that we will continue digging deeper and deeper and getting far more granular as this season goes on. We just have 2 episodes left, and both of those episodes we're going to be talking about the report from the Consumer Federation of America and what it means. So find us, watch us on the socials and Facebook. We'll post our next show date and time a little bit later, probably early in August, maybe next week, late next week sometime. And you can find us at Real Estate Geeks Live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
Instagram. Well, and kind of going back to what we talked about, we are also looking forward to the exciting things, as we mentioned, this new undisclosed studio location that is under construction. But along with that, you may ask, hey, what about those fun short segments Brad alluded to, coffee reviews and some of the fun stuff, this sold house. You know, we have all kinds of little segments there, and those all in the news and special guests will return when we move into our new studio. Now, all the show's live. We have a series of taped and edited shorts available as well, so you have lots to choose from.
And that's our show for today. Thank you for watching us. Join us next time on the Real Estate Geeks Live.